would like to call Mari Ibarra to the stand.
Oh, shit.
¿Qué pasa si más nunca me dejas en paz? Llevo 1000 años amándote ya, no me puedo controlar. Yo te tengo que borrar, fue tan bonito y hecho pedazo.
In 1996, a high school girls soccer team from Muskeg High School was on their way to nationals. Unfortunately, this flight was never destined to actually make it. The flight path had left the plane veering off course about 600 miles north, and everyone on that plane was presumed lost or dead. Survivors of the crash were out there for around 19 months, and upon their rescue, their numbers had dwindled a lot less than to those who had entered onto the plane that day. Who were the members of the Yellowjackets soccer team that got stranded out there in the wilderness? What was their story, and what was their role to play in the girls' survival out there? In this series of videos, I hope to break down each one of the Yellowjackets soccer team that has had a bit of a narrative element or enough context to piece together what their story could actually be. As well as, if their character is still around by the time of shooting this, I will be predicting where their character could go.
That being said, hello wilderness survivors, fellow mudbeards, and Yellowjackets if you're watching. And we're officially starting off on my new series of videos hoping to break down each one of the Yellowjackets. I'm going to be trying to release these leading up to Season 3 finale, but there's a chance that it will actually go past that point. Either way, I'm really interested in diving into each one of these characters and kind of putting my own thoughts onto video form. But I'm sure there'll be many things I missed, so if you know any interesting facts or trivia about some of the characters or actors playing them, then feel free to let me know down in the comments. Either way, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it.
Oh, that's great.
Either way, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Before we keep going, I wanted to go ahead and remind you guys that if you did enjoy that opening edit, it would really mean a lot if you went and showed love to the actual creator. Akabs absolutely kills it at every single edit she does, so again, please show some love. And she's been a long time avid fan of the series. So again, feel free to show them some love. For today's breakdown, I wanted to go ahead and cover my favorite character of the series, being YouTube's #1 fan, Mari Ibarra. Mari Ibarra brilliantly Mari Ibarra. Why would they name Mari Ibarra is played by Alexa Brajas brilliantly, and I will argue that she has some of the most iconic one-liners in the entire show. Part of why she kind of became my fan favorite. But the #1 reason why is because of the very opening of the series, Pit Girl. And I have a few videos already covering Pit Girl and my own thoughts on it. Point is, for those who don't know, I tend to attach myself to characters who are doomed but genuinely likable. And in some cases, kind of unlikable. See, Mari is the first one of these characters that I've attached to that isn't necessarily the sweetest or kindest. Or at least in the beginning. See, outside of her very first moment of the show, she's a little bit of a brat. Usually verbally challenging or putting other people down within the group. And while she never really takes it too far, it's obvious that she doesn't really have much of a filter and is pretty creative when it comes to being witty. And as the character has gotten more screen time as we've progressed, we didn't really get to see too much of her story or who she was as a person outside of these little character moments. Which is alright with me, because I do firmly believe that these same elements are what made me like her character so much. Another interesting character trait they decided to implement within her was the fact that she isn't necessarily the smartest, which is a little endearing simply because there's so many small moments or scenes that show that she just doesn't think that far ahead unless it's to roast somebody, whether it be holding up the wrong hand for the letter L, and in one of the most recent scenes of Season 3, she seems to have taken on the title of Captain Obvious.
Right now, you should bury your friend.
Hello? That involves untying their hands.
And that's why you'll be supervising them.
Either way, it's not like she's just straight up stupid, but she isn't necessarily the brightest bulb in the bunch. And that's just such an interesting character trait to navigate. See, it's really intriguing to have such a flawed character relatively be just as much of a victim as everyone else out there. So to anticipate that at some point all of them are so okay with literally hunting her down and eating her, it makes you kind of root for her in a way. And seeing how she is sort of a bully and kind of just speaking her mind, it made me think that, oh yeah, she's definitely gonna get a little bit of hate from the rest of the group. girls. But despite that fact, she still finds a way to be a strong contributor to the group. See, it'd be very easy to compare her to another character like Jackie. Being a little bit of a brat and not necessarily being the toughest, you would tend to wonder how she survived out there. But if you notice the visual context that's laid out throughout the show, especially the first season, she is one of the first ones to actively try to help or be a part of the groups trying to find solutions. Whether it be going with Ty to try to find rescue, learning just like all the other tools the skills they would need to survive out there, or taking up the mantle as camp cook. But while it would be easy to subject her to just the camp cook who likes to bully people sometimes, you do notice that she does have a little bit more depth to her character. See, we notice throughout the show that she does struggle just as hard as everybody else, despite this semi-tough exterior. When things reach a breaking point, she also breaks. We also have a lot of context to prove that she is a little bit genuine even when she's being nice. See, the very first scene we see of her, she messes with Aquila, being a bully, but then immediately corrects herself and lets her know that she's just messing around, offering her fruit roll-ups. Now that's just a homie move. Point is, her and Aquila's character have a lot in common and a very interesting dynamic. And while we don't really see them together much on screen, the small moments they do share proves to us that they are good friends. Interestingly enough, they also both begin to hallucinate while they're out there in the wilderness. And while the context the show provided was that they were just starving, if you really pay attention, these hallucinations started the very next day after they ate Jackie. Now this could be a clue to us that she does actually have a slight connection to the wilderness. Couple this with the fact that she was one of the very first active supporters of Lottie, feeling in her bones that Lottie just knew what she was talking about. If the supernatural side of the show does exist, it's very possible that the wilderness was working through her. Cut this to the quality time in the cave with Coach Ben. She mentions her own universal theory, believing in two separate realities, and even though she broke it down worse than a 5-year-old Mudlove doing his first ever theory video, I still think it was interesting the fact that she does have a little bit of backstory given. Now sure, this could have just been to give depth to her character, but considering the context of her backstory, it does further add to the fact that all these girls have a strange connection with death before the crash. Her character also proves to us that even though we don't see them much on screen, a lot of these girls do have lives and their own personal stories. There's a strong chance that every single one of them has had some form of connection or experience with death in the past. But that's for a whole separate video. Another interesting fact about the character is her actor Alexa has been playing the character since the very first season. And while a lot of other characters have been recast at some point throughout the series, she has stuck around to fill the role. But I do want to clarify before moving forward that there could be a million reasons why someone would have to recast, so it's good not to assume things. Point is, I commend Alexa for really giving her all to the role. And despite how much I truly do enjoy the character, I can't see any other ending for her but the pit. Sure, there is potential that she could actually be an adult survivor and be alive after the 25 years later. And if that is the case, I'll gladly accept the alternative. But as of right now, if she doesn't survive the 96 timeline, it would be unjust if anybody else went in the pit besides her. Spoiler alerts for The Walking Dead, but I do have an argument to be made that some characters are destined to die a certain way. Glenn from The Walking Dead was so endearing because leading up to that moment, you really did feel for the character, and as the moment approached, you really did worry for them. Think of Romeo and Juliet. What if instead of Romeo having killed himself, it was actually Mercutio, simply because the audience was just a much bigger fan of Romeo and they didn't want to kill him off? Some characters are destined to die a certain way for the narrative of the story. And if she does somehow turn out to still be alive and not referenced by any of the girls, then she's either a super secret agent doing something or a crackhead spouting one-liners at people on the street. Either way, I'd be okay with that fact because my girl would have survived. And mark my words, if she does happen to survive to the adult timeline, my new fan favorite will be either Hannah or Jen, because they are the next most likely candidates to suffer the pit. I don't know why my mind works like that. Again, this is my breakdown for Maria Barra, and if you enjoyed the edit at the beginning, remember to show a cob some love. Either way, thank you so much for watching, appreciate the support, and why don't you hit him with one of them one-liners, Mari?
I walked back to civilization so I could
Fuck your dad.
She fell in a hole and fucked up her knee.